What's up again, everybody? The spoilers are still rolling, and so are we. So let's talk about the spoilers that came out like over the last 24 hours, kind of like while I was sleeping. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of these came out while I was sleeping, and some of them are very, very spicy. So we're gonna go through them now. Hopefully this one will be faster than the last video. Also, I should always say this, I have always said this, you should 100% go check out all of the content that was created around these spoiler cards, the videos, the commentary, the discussion, the articles. All of those things are fantastic. There are some great pictures of some of these cards in person. You should go look at all of them. Links in the description if you want to go check out all of the spoiler videos and content. You should definitely do it. Now, starting with Bolt and Shot. Is a very hilarious name, by the way. Bolt and Shot is a rare. It comes in a cycle. It costs 0. It's a ranger arrow. It blocks for 3, of course. It attacks for 4, so that means the yellow's going to attack for 3, the blue's going to attack for 2. It says, while Bolt and Shot's attack is greater than its base attack, it has Go Again, and if this hits, reload. Also, just the flavor is just so good. The flavor for this card is so incredibly good. We have Bolt and Shot being a direct reference to the warrior hero Bolton that has a mechanic wherein he encourages you to buff up his attacks so that he can give them Go Again. And if this attack gets buffed up greater than its base, then it has Go Again. This arrow is going to be absolutely fantastic. It's one you'll include in every Lexi deck because you can load this. You can select the +1, and then this will automatically gain Go Again. So you don't have to play like, basically what I'm saying is you could play Shiver, the bow Shiver, and you can choose the +1 effect, and this would gain Go Again. You don't have to choose, Go Again as the effect. If you're playing the Voltaire bow, you don't have to choose Go Again. You can just choose +1. This becomes a 5-attack arrow for nothing, and with Go Again. And then we talk about the if it hits, reload. This one's really good to fire second, or to fire if you just have one arrow in your arsenal. This is also really, really good for Azalea. If you can consistently provide a way to buff Azalea attacks or buff arrow attacks with Azalea, this one's fantastic for her because it gives her the ability to reload. And if you're playing the cross wrap instead of the New Horizon, then you have one arsenal slot and then you reload if this one hits right after the fact. Yeah, this card's really, really good. It's like one of the best arrows they've shown, and it's just so like casual, and I love just the flavor of it. Next up we have Frostlock. Frostlock is a 1-cost, 3-attack majestic ranger arrow. It's really strange that it's a blue and that it's a 3-attack. It's got Ice Fusion on it, and it says cards and activated abilities cost opposing heroes an additional 1 this turn. This is really interesting too because, like, if your opponent is attempting to, play down a defense reaction, then it's going to cost them more on this. It also says activated abilities, so any activated abilities that your opponent can activate on your turn is going to also cost them an additional 1. And this is universal. It doesn't have to hit. Like, Frostlock doesn't have to hit for this to happen. It's just there. It's automatic when you play the card. Also, if you fuse this, it gains +1, so it pushes to 4, and then it goes, if it hits a hero until the end of their next turn, they can't pitch or play cards with base cost 0. So if you like playing like 0-cost cards, I don't know if you're like a ninja who really likes playing 0-cost cards, or like a Shadow Runeblade that loves 0-cost cards, or if you're talking in set, if you're playing against Lexi, and you are Lexi, which is kind of funny, if this hits, then you just can't play those cards. And so this is definitely majestic level in that sense. It's very strange that it's blue and that it attacks for 3, but it makes sense whenever you can actually fuse this. It pushes over that breakpoint to 4 and becomes a little bit more threatening. Makes it harder for your opponent to use like defense reactions to block this, or use activated abilities on your turn as well. So a pretty cool little card. Speaking of cool card, I'm a little sad, okay guys, I'm a little sad. I really hoped that we got landmarks with all of the various like areas that they've shown the art for. Like, I wish this Channel Thunderstep was not a lightning action aura. I wish it was a landmark, but it's not. It's Channel Thunderstep, costs 1. It's a majestic aura. It says go again, of course, so that you can play it down and the aura doesn't soak up your action point. It says whenever you play an action card, you can pay 1 resource. If you do, that action card just gains go again. Just straight up, it just gets go again, which is crazy. This just stays out, by the way. Auras can't generally be removed by your opponent, and so this will stay out for as long as you choose, because the next part says Channel Lightning. At the beginning of your end phase, put a flow counter on Channel Thunderstep, then destroy it unless you put a lightning card from your pitch on the bottom of your deck for each flow counter on it. So think about how this is going to function. First of all, you're going to play this down, and you're going to get benefits from it. You can pay a resource, you can give something go again. But then, at the beginning of your end phase, when you would like draw, before you draw your hand and all that sort of thing, you have to put a flow counter on Channel Thunderstep, and then you have to go into your pitch zone, and you have to take a lightning card from your pitch zone. So you would have had to have pitched a lightning card, and you put that on the bottom of your deck for the first flow counter. Then the next turn, you use the effect as many times as you want, but at that point, you're going to put a second flow counter onto Channel Thunderstep, and you're going to have to put 2 cards from your pitch zone that are both lightning cards to the bottom of your deck. Now, you're not losing anything here, like as far as where the card, it was going to go to the bottom of your deck anyway, but it gets harder and harder to have multiple lightning cards in your pitch zone and still play out cards. So this isn't going to last for a long time. It's not going to be there forever. You're not going to have this for like 5 turns. It's not a game-long effect. Really, what's going to end up happening is you're probably going to lose it on turn 2, or maybe lose it on turn 3. Still, the fact that you can give anything go again is bonkers, is really good. And this looks like a really fun card to mess around with in like a Lightning Ranger or a Lightning whatever they have for the Candlehold hero. Also, Pulse of Volthaven, 0 cost, Lightning Ice Instant. Take in for a second. Lightning Ice Instant. So it counts as both a lightning card and an ice card, which means if you reveal this for cards that are looking for lightning or ice, it's like perfect. It's perfect. It's also an instant. It's a majestic. It's a legendary card, meaning you can only have 1 Pulse of Volthaven in your deck. That's not the legendary rarity, it's legendary keyword. You can only have 1 Pulse of Volthaven in your deck at any given time. Your next lightning, ice, or elemental attack this turn gains +4 attack, which is so gross. This is also kind of interesting because it's an ice, it's an instant. Now there was some kind of questioning as to whether or not for example, if you play like a lightning attack, okay, and then you reveal this from your hand to help, fuse that attack, that lightning attack, and then you hold priority and you respond to that attack with Pulse of Volthaven. So Pulse of Volthaven is like the second card, and then you're going to play things down reverse. The question that I had asked to me was, does Pulse of Volthaven apply its +4 effect to the card that you paid for and then also, fused? And I don't think so, because this says your next lightning, ice, or elemental attack this turn gains +4, but I don't know for sure. So if you know for sure in the chat, in the comments, leave me a comment so that I can follow up with that, because I would think that there's like a precedent set with the idea of playing a what was it? Playing a Stir the Aether Winds on top of a Stir the Aether Winds, and both of those applying to the next thing, rather as like you play a Stir and then you play a Stir after that. After the first Stir resolves, the first Stir would apply to the second Stir and it wouldn't work. This case is a little bit different, so I don't know if those things are equal. I'm very curious. Nevertheless, even if that functionality doesn't work where you can play this at instant speed and then buff up the attack, this is still a really, really cool effect. You can just jam this down, give anything +4. You can kind of like play it out there on your opponent's turn, or sorry, not on your opponent's turn. You could technically play it on your own opponent's turn, but you could play it out like in between your first and second attack, and not waste an action point. In general, it's just a really cool card. I am very curious to see if that interaction is functional. If it is, that makes this card even better. Shock Strider. Okay, these next 2 cards to me are like Legend Story Studios dabbling with the idea of turning attacks and cards into creatures. Like, this is not a creature. It doesn't stay out there. But, like, looking at this, the name Shock Strider is literally describing that little guy, right? That little bird guy. This costs 1, it blocks for 2, it attacks for 3. I just want to point out that this is a common, and so this is the blue version, which means that the red version attacks for 5, and it costs 1. That's really good. Once per turn instant. That's really good. You can pay 2 resources. If you do, Shock Strider gains if it hits a hero, deal 1 damage to them, which is kind of cool in that if your opponent just doesn't block this out, doesn't respect this, then you can pay 2 resources and kind of sink into it, which is great if you have like a 2-card hand with this in Arsenal and you just want to pitch blue and play a Shock Strider. Heck, you could even have this as just a 2-card hand, this plus a blue. Pitch the blue, float 2 resources, play Shock Strider. If your opponent doesn't block it, you can play the once per turn instant and make this deal them 1 extra damage. It's kind of a cool little attack. This is a good one for draft and sealed. So keep this in mind if you're going to Vegas. Anyone? This one's a really good one too if you're going to Vegas. 2 cost, Frostfang, blocks for 2, attacks for 5 on the red. This is the rare. If Frostfang hits a hero, they discard a card unless they pay 2 resources. So if they choose to block this out, they're blocking with likely 2 cards, or maybe they're blocking with a card and an equipment, or a card and a shield. Now that shields are in the game, if they don't block this with like 2 cards or any of those things that I described, then they have to block this with 1 card and then discard a card, which kind of sucks for them, right? Because it's basically the same thing as just blocking with 2 cards. Or they discard a card, or sorry, they block with a card, I should say, and then they pitch a card for 2 resources and stop the effect. Either way, they are down, if they do either of those last 2 things, they are down 2 cards from their hand. Okay, so there's a lot of like bad options for them, and that's what makes this card really good. I heard someone describe this as like it's like a rare version of Command and Conquer, and honestly, that's not a bad description. That's really just not a bad description because this does have a lot of similarities in that respect. Of course, Command and Conquer has the added benefit of not being able to be defended by defense reactions, and though we haven't seen any in the set thus far, this is still a very good card. If you do have defense reactions in this set, or if there are some really good ones or some iconic ones, then this one is a little bit easier to deal with in draft and sealed. This one's really cool too. Winter's Bite has got beautiful art. It's like some like ice wolves. I don't know what they're doing. They're smoke ice wolves. Anyway, they're trying to bite the dude, which sucks for that guy, right? 0 cost. Common. The red, oh, it blocks for 2, of course. The red says target hero discards a card unless they pay 3 resources. The yellow would say 2 resources. The blue would say 1 resource. And then go again. This one's an interesting one because it takes this idea of like, I'm going to attack you, and you're going to block it or you're not going to block it. If you block it, you're going to lose your cards, basically. You're discarding cards from your hand to mitigate the damage, right? This is saying the same thing, but without an attack. It's preempting your first attack, or maybe your second attack, whatever. It's preempting your attack so that you can then force them to either pitch a card to stop the effect or drop a card from their hand. So in a lot of ways, it reminds me of a couple of the cards we've seen, like Shock Strider. No, it was Frostfang. It reminds me of Frostfang. And there was like one spoiled yesterday too that had a similar effect of like you have to discard a card from your hand or pay the resource cost. Or maybe I'm thinking of like a Ranger card that did something similar. I can't remember. But the point is they have this effect, this idea of this effect kind of permeating some of these cards, and it's a really interesting design space for them to go and delve into. It's one I hadn't really considered, but the idea of losing card advantage with an effect like this is really intriguing to me. So keep an eye out for this one in red and yellow if you plan on doing any draft or sealed. Look at the art on this. Tear Asunder. 3 cost, blue, Guardian action. It's a majestic. It blocks for 3 if you want to block with it. Your next Guardian attack this turn gains +1 attack, dominate, and if it hits a hero, they discard 2 cards. Basically, if you play this, you are giving... oh, geez, what's the best way to say this? It's like you're Bravo, and it's like you played Crippling Crush, and it's like you also dominated the Crippling Crush. Except it could be any attack that you want. It's like, okay, hello there. I mean, this card is insane. This card's incredible. by the way, also, yeah, Guardians in the set. We talked about it in the last video. I apologize. The very first title I came up with for that first video, I said there was a new class, but there wasn't a new class. It was the Guardian class, and I didn't realize that I insinuated that it was a new class, except it was just the Guardian. We already knew. Okay, I apologize. Anyway, I changed it after that. I felt bad. This is a pretty amazing card. It is a really amazing card, and it's going to be crazy to see some Guardian attacks and things that you can do with this alongside of it. Do keep in mind, though, it costs 3, and then you're going to have to pay the resource cost for the attack that you want to play this on. So we've seen Guardian attacks prior to this be really expensive. They're going to, if you want to play this, they're going to have to print a little bit cheaper Guardian attacks so that you can play, Terra Sunder into those attacks. Because again, this is not like Towering Titan, which is an aura that you can slam down on the previous turn and then get the buff. This is something you have to play on the turn and then attack with in order to use. So we'll have to see some of those attacks coming forward. Plus, here's one. If you have the resources for it, this attack's incredible. Endless Winter, 4 cost, another Majestic. It's an Elemental Guardian action attack. It attacks for 8. And this is the specialization of the hero, which we haven't seen up until this point, but we will see today. It's probably going to happen like this. I'm going to post this video, and like Tolarian Community College is going to spoil the hero, because that's what the spoiler thing says, is that he's going to spoil it today. And I'm going to make this video go live, and his video is going to go live as well. And then I'm just going to be like, I should have waited. I should have waited 5 minutes. But this is the Oldhim specialization. That's, I guess, how you pronounce his name, Oldhim. It's got Ice Fusion on it. It says, if Endless Winter was fused, therefore, revealing an ice card after paying the cost from your hand, then whenever the defending hero adds a defending card to this chain link, create a Frostbite token under their control. If they put multiple down, they get multiple Frostbite tokens. By the way, I just want to point out that, I know you see the monster being all frozen, but behind the monster in the center of the screen, that's Oldhim right there. He's got the biggest pauldrons in the world. That's what those are, shoulder pads, pauldrons, right? I think that's what they are. Tell me in a comment below if I'm wrong. If Endless Winter hits a hero, until the end of their next turn, whenever they activate an ability, create a Frostbite token under their control. That's the worst part, and best if you're Oldhim. That's the best and worst part, because anytime they activate an ability, they get a new Frostbite token. And this is the thing about Frostbite tokens. Yes, they are interesting in that they're going to charge your opponent basically for doing effects. Let's say that this is a Frostbite token. I give this to you, and these aren't Frostbite tokens. This is actually the spoiler card that I get to spoil on Monday. Yes, I did that to you. This Frostbite token, you get it, and it's going to charge you more to do your next thing. But once you've done the effect, once you've paid the extra price, this explodes. It goes away. But Endless Winter can keep adding these to your opponent on their turn to really drive the point home that they have to pay these exorbitant costs. And that is by far the most powerful implementation of Frostbite tokens that we've seen thus far. Endless Winter is absolute fire. And if you give this Dominate with Terra Sunder, and then they discard 2 cards, their turn is just over. Their turn is just over. You got to pitch 7. So you'd have to, tech plating the turn before. Tech plating can still be used. Tech plating to make this 3 and then pitch 2 blues and play Terra Sunder into Endless Winter. That'd be pretty nasty. Hey, check it out. It's the weapon. It's the Elemental Guardian weapon. It's Winter's Wail. Once per turn action, pay 3 to attack. If an ice card is pitched this way, basically if you pay these 3 resources by pitching an ice card, Winter's Wail gains, if this hits a hero, create a Frostbite token under their control. I love this one too. This is setting up to be ultra control-y, and I'm here for it, because that's what Bravo kind of did anyway. But this is pure control, and that's what's really neat about it. Now I'm curious. This is a one-handed hammer. There's nothing to say I can't run 2 of these, right? I could run two Winter's Wails, can't I? I wonder. Yeah, I should be able to run 2 Winter's Whales. I could just like Winter's Whales 1 and Winter Whale just like do the dance, right? That'd be pretty cool. They both attack for 4. If you pitch 2 ice cards to do this, then, you know, to attack with both of them, then, you know, they're just really threatening. That's a 2-card hand, 2 weapons. Dude, someone tell me, can you actually do that? 2 Winter's Whales? Why not, right? Is there something that I'm missing? That's a really good card. And then we have the last card we're going to talk about, which is Rampart of the Ram's Head. The reason you may not want to run 2 Winter's Whales, because you have a legendary Guardian equipment offhand. Okay, so you have your Winter's Whale one-handed hammer and an offhand legendary shield. And it says, whenever you defend with Rampart of the Ram's Head, you can pay a resource. If you do, it gains +1 until the end of the turn. And this is interesting too, because it says it gains +1 until the end of the turn. So if your opponent attacks you and then breaks the combat chain after you've blocked with Rampart, paying the cost, it gaining 1, and then they attack you again after your Rampart has returned back to its zone, you can block with it again, pay a resource, and it would gain another block, which is kind of interesting. That being said, I mean, I don't know where I was going with that. That being said, it's really cool. I also want to talk about the fact that this is the first time we've seen them, as far as I can think, this is the first time we've seen them do this long form border with a small text box. I am 100% here for that. I think any way they can feature their art and their aesthetic even more, I am so here for. So if they can do this kind of a thing where they just minimize the amount of space the text box has to take up, I love it. I absolutely love that. This is a card that I want. I think I want it just because it looks really good in cold foil. By the way, again, you should go and check out all of the videos and all of the pictures and all of the articles of the people that spoil these cards because, for example, I think this was spoiled by the Fab 5, and they took a bunch of like really nice photos of the cold foil legendary version of Rampart of the Ram's Head. Looks beautiful. It's a really cool card. I think if I can run 2 Winter's Whales, I don't know if I want to run 2 of these or 1 and 1. But this is a really pretty card, so I'd probably put it in there just for the prettiness. So that's what we have today so far. Keep your eyes peeled to see what this new hero's all about. I think Tolarian Community College is going to be spoiling it based on the spoiler link in the description. That's what it says. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Oldhim is all about. If you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to leave me a comment telling me which card you like the best. I would love to hear from you. If you want to make this number go to another number, I'm pretty sure that we are going to hit 6,000 subscribers before I actually get to sit down and roll out the 5K subscriber giveaway. Yeah, I should probably really get on that. I apologize. But hey, that is locked now, and we will be going live at some point and giving away some sweet playmats. If you want to hit the button, though, just to be an awesome person, feel free. As always, everybody, thanks for watching.